First contact, final war. The world was minutes away from ending. At the line of demarcation between the Eastern Defense Coalition and the Western Strategic Alliance, missiles sat armed in underground silos. Supersonic drones screamed overhead. Soldiers dug into muddy trenches, their faces half covered by smart visors and fear. After decades of cold conflict, the Third World War had finally ignited. Then, everything stopped. Weapons deactivated mid-charge. Tanks ground to a halt. Digital targeting systems flickered, then died. In the silence that followed, the only sound was the crackling of failed comms and the stunned breathing of soldiers too afraid to believe they were still alive. High above Earth, they appeared, 12 immense ships descending from low orbit, iridescent like glass catching sunlight. The crafts hovered over major capitals: Washington, D.C., Beijing, New Delhi, Paris, Lagos. The world stared into the sky as history pivoted. Humanity's first contact was not a greeting. It was an intervention. At the United Nations headquarters, a global emergency session was broadcast live to every screen on Earth. Delegates, military leaders, and scientific minds crowded the chamber. Cameras zoomed in as the central hollow platform shimmered. A humanoid figure materialized, translucent and elegant, draped in living silk that pulsed with faint bioluminescence. "I am Selvarin," the being spoke, not in sound but directly into the minds of all watching. The voice was serene, but its presence was undeniable. "I represent the Veldorian Peace Corps. We have ended war on 97 worlds. We are here to offer the same to you." The room erupted. Voices shouted over one another. Questions, protests, fear. One delegate, General Marcus Hill of the Western Strategic Alliance, stood up and bellowed, "You have no right to interfere in our sovereignty." Selvarin responded without emotion, "We do not interfere. We preserve. Your civilizations are seconds away from extinction. You have been offered a choice." UN advisor Dr. Aisha Rao sat quietly, watching Selvarin, a peace strategist who had spent her life watching treaties collapse and cities burn. She said nothing. She was tired. Tired of speeches. Tired of war. And now aliens had come, not to invade, but to stop humans from killing themselves. It should have sounded impossible. It felt like salvation. By the next morning, the Veldorians had activated something they called the Conflict Dampening Field, a global net of satellites that rendered explosive weaponry and digital warfare inoperable. Governments protested. Protests turned violent, and then eerily calm as local zones came online. "We will not rule you," Selvarin said in a global address. "We will guide you to rule yourselves, without violence, without annihilation." Trust was scarce. So was time. The old world order was crumbling. Humanity stood at a crossroads. War was no longer an option. Now, they had to choose: accept peace from an alien hand, or try to reclaim war by their own. And for once in human history, war was not the default. The tools of peace. 3 months after the Veldorians arrived, Earth had changed in ways no human thought possible. Entire slums in Nairobi were now vertical gardens. Favelas in Rio glowed with renewable energy pulled directly from the atmosphere. Food scarcity, once the root of countless conflicts, was dissolving. The aliens had brought more than words. They brought tools. The centerpiece of their aid was the nanofabricator Nexus, a sprawling tower installed outside Geneva, able to produce clean energy modules, building materials, even medical supplies at no cost. Each continent received one. The only condition: every nation must have equal access. "This is not charity," Selvarin explained in a Joint Earth broadcast. "This is stabilization." Yet not everyone saw it that way. At the Geneva Peace Institute, Dr. Aisha Rao reviewed surveillance data on the first deployment of the Conflict Prediction System, CPS. It wasn't just Veldorian tech. It had been co-developed with Earth's own behavioral scientists. CPS monitored emotional and environmental indicators in dense populations, predicting potential violent outbreaks before they occurred. "This feels like thought policing," said Colonel Donnell, a UN liaison. "You're watching everyone." "We already watched everyone," Aisha replied. The difference is now we prevent the fire instead of mourning the ashes. But her voice wavered. Even she wasn't sure anymore. Behind the data and the breakthroughs, something gnawed at her. Humanity had fought for its independence across every age, from empires to democracies. Now peace arrived, not by evolution, but by gift. Were they growing better, or just being managed? In a dusty Texas garage, a different conversation unfolded. A man in his 60s, lean and scarred, leaned over a table covered in wires and salvage components. General Marcus Hill, now officially retired, was not idle. Across from him sat a younger man in a leather jacket with a tattoo of Earth gripped by a human fist. "The aliens are soft conquering us," the man growled, "turning our leaders into smiling puppets." Hill didn't respond immediately. He lifted a palm-sized black cube, a captured fragment of Veldorian tech. "They think we're children," Hill finally said. "But children grow up." Sovereign Earth was born in that garage. A loose network of hardliners, old soldiers, rogue scientists, and those afraid that humanity was losing its identity in exchange for peace. Back in Geneva, Selvarin met privately with Aisha. "You are troubled," he said, his voice as calm as still water. Aisha looked out the window, where children played beneath a peace drone's watchful eye. "What happens when we want to stand on our own?" she asked. "Without your net catching us every time?" Selvarin bowed his head. "Then you will fall. But the fall will not destroy you. Only the refusal to rise again will." Outside, Earth bloomed like it hadn't in centuries. Crops grew, skies cleared, borders softened. But deep beneath the calm, a storm brewed, not between nations, but within the human soul. Was peace truly peace if it wasn't earned? The price of unity. The attack came at dawn. Geneva's skyline shimmered with morning light when a unified Earth Council headquarters erupted in flame. The explosion vaporized part of the Peace Nexus Tower, sending a wave of fire and debris cascading into Lake Geneva. Thousands perished, including diplomats, peacekeepers, and civilians. It was the worst act of violence since the Veldorians arrived. Within hours, Sovereign Earth claimed responsibility. Their message was brutal and clear. Humanity will not be ruled by aliens or anyone else. Dr. Aisha Rao stood in the ruins that night, wrapped in an emergency response cloak, soot streaked across her face. They had warned this might happen. Some said peace was being forced too fast, that wounds needed time, not technology. But she hadn't listened. Now Selvarin was in stasis, barely alive. His shimmering body had shielded 3 children from the blast. Aisha had held his limp form in her arms, screaming for medics. The Veldorians did not speak of revenge, but their silence was heavier than any threat. Across the globe, protests erupted, not against the aliens, but against Sovereign Earth. Crowds marched in every major city, holding signs that read, "We choose peace, no more war, and we stand with Selvarin." The world had changed, and Sovereign Earth was now the enemy of that change. But fear crept in. The conflict prediction system had failed to foresee the attack. The dampening fields had been bypassed using corrupted Veldorian code. Humanity had reverse-engineered alien tech and used it for blood. The Council convened an emergency session. For the first time, a vote was held on full integration of Veldorian peacekeeping systems into Earth's governance. Not just surveillance, but enforcement. Some called it a surrender. Others called it survival. In the chamber, Aisha took the floor. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but conviction. "We stand at the edge of choice," she said. "Not between freedom and slavery, but between self-destruction and evolution." The Veldorians did not demand our obedience. They offered us a mirror, and we didn't like what we saw. Silence followed, then thunderous applause. By a global majority, the Unity Protocol passed. The Veldorian systems would now integrate into every level of government. Predictive analysis, non-lethal intervention drones, economic equalization hubs, and AI conflict arbitration. Earth would remain governed by humans, but supported, stabilized, and protected by the technology of peace. In a hidden underground compound, General Marcus Hill watched the vote with a clenched jaw. They've handed over the keys, he said bitterly. Not just to our defense, but to our destiny. The young man beside him adjusted a prototype pulse rifle, built from stolen Veldorian fragments. Then we take them back. Hill turned off the screen. Soon, in a quiet medical chamber aboard the orbiting Veldorian station, Selvarin stirred. And for the first time since the explosion, he spoke. Your species has chosen. Outside, the Earth turned in silence. But now it turned with purpose. A new kind of war. Earth looked peaceful from orbit. Cities shimmered with clean energy grids. Oceans glowed with restored coral reefs. And vast regions once scarred by war now teemed with crops and life. But beauty, Aisha Rao knew, could be deceptive. She stood aboard the Veldorian Unity Station, looking down at the planet she had fought to save. Humanity had embraced the Unity Protocol. On paper. In practice, implementation was fragile. Disinformation campaigns, cyber-sabotage, and rogue militias fed by Sovereign Earth operated like tumors beneath a polished skin. Peace, Selvarin said, entering the chamber behind her, is not the absence of resistance. It is the patient dismantling of chaos. He moved slowly now. The blast had damaged more than his body. His species healed, but not quickly. Yet his mind remained as sharp as ever. They're escalating, Aisha said. The Unity drones intercepted an EMP strike near Johannesburg. Had it gone through, 2 million would have died. Selvarin nodded. You must prepare for a new kind of war. One fought not with bombs, but with minds, fears, and mistrust. On Earth, Sovereign Earth expanded its reach underground. General Hill had established hidden enclaves in abandoned military bunkers across Asia, North America, and Eastern Europe. He didn't just gather weapons. He built a narrative. They say we're extremists, he told his followers. But we're the last real humans. We bleed. We fight. We choose. Using stolen Veldorian tech, they had developed counter-drones and purge fields, small-scale devices that disrupted peacekeeping nanotech in localized zones. Towns that had embraced Unity suddenly found their systems crashing, their peacekeepers disabled. Looting followed. Violence returned. Let them see what happens when they rely on aliens to keep the lights on, Hill growled. Then they'll come back to us. But humanity was changing, even in resistance. At a refugee zone in northern Chile, a woman named Lien Chun, once a child soldier, now a Unity education officer, stared down a mob armed with improvised weapons. Behind her, families huddled beneath Unity shelters, their only defense a translucent dome of kinetic nanobarrier. She stepped forward alone. No one's here to fight you, she said. You want to take down the system? Fine. But ask yourself, when your children are hungry, who will feed them? Hill, or the food printers in that shelter behind me? The crowd hesitated. Some dropped their weapons. Back on the Unity station, Selvarin activated the final phase of the Unity Protocol, Project Synthesis, a plan to train human peacekeepers in Veldorian methods, merging Earth's spirit with alien wisdom. No longer watchers, partners, and Aisha was chosen to lead it. You must make them believe, Selvarin said, that peace is not alien. It is possible. It is theirs. The final battle would not be fought in trenches or skies. It would be fought in hearts, in classrooms, in conversations. And if humanity won that war, it would be the first species in the galaxy to choose peace and make it last.